Good morning, grade 4s. Today we are going to continue talking about some tricky verbs. And I just want to go over a few basics before we get into today's work. And we're going to start by looking at the two different forms of some more difficult verbs. For example, was and were are basically the same verb, but you use was with singular nouns. So what I mean by that is we say he was, or the dog was. One dog, one he, that person was. On the other hand, we use the word were when it is plural. So for example, they were. The dogs were. Because that subject is plural, the verb has to be were. So depending on the situation, we might use was or were. Same with is and are. We say she is. We say they are. We say he goes. We say they go. We say she speaks. We say they speak. Sort of like last time, if it has an S here, this shouldn't be plural. And same thing for has. He has, they have, more than one have. So this rule works for almost all of our words. So if you get stuck, you might want to look back on this list to remember which one goes with the singular ones and which one goes with the plural ones. So with that in mind, we're just going to try a few of the first question. Now, I believe I've told you not to do this one, so you don't have to do this, but you can follow along if you want. Just, it's a little bit of practice. We're not going to do all of these parts. What we're going to do is we're going to underline the subject, and then we're going to double underline the verb that we think is correct. So, the sound of many voices was heard. Ooh. And do you see how my mind already is filling in that correct verb because I'm thinking these things out loud. I'm saying them out loud. So once again, my best advice to you is sound everything out, say the sentences so you can discover which one's the best. But the reason why was is the right answer is because, the reason was is the right answer is because the subject is the sound. The sound was heard. There's one sound. The sound might be of many voices, but there's just one sound. Same thing with this. The study, there's one study. We're getting that part right there. So therefore, we have to go with the singular one. The study of subjects and verbs is very important. That wonderful collection's the subject, of stories was sold yesterday. A boy from each of the rooms, a boy, there's the subject, goes to the office for announcements. So once you find your subject, it's pretty easy to figure out what verb it goes to. Now, things can get a little bit more tricky when you have sentences that start with there is or there are, depending on which one. Because in both of these sentences, it looks like there is the subject. So how can there both be used with is and are? And the reason is the word that follows. Whatever the word follows is, that's what you're going to do. So if it's one person, there is a tree. That's one thing, singular. That's where we use the is. We use there are if it's more than one thing. There are many trees. So there's where we use our plural one. So is with singular, are with plural. Let's try just the first one over here on think B. Oop, a little bit crooked, that's okay, I'm not going to keep it there for long. So it tells me to underline each subject once, underline the correct verb in the parentheses twice. So there are several girls. Girls is what we're talking about. Are goes double underlined. There we go, another one. There is truth. One truth. Here is the poem. One poem, so we use the word is. And we go through the questions just like that. On the back, we're just keeping those same things in mind. We might have to go with was or has and have, but if we use our chart, we should be able to do that just fine. So I'll pause on this chart right here so that you guys can use that for any questions that you might have. All the best. Goodbye.